great playoff game and the Thunder win a series, and I would be like, hey, it was worth it, but it's not pacing towards that. And some of the body language from Russ when they showed him after some of Melo's miscues down the stretch was not exactly encouraging either.
All right, let's talk a little March Madness, the feel-good story of the tournament. 11 seed Loyola Chicago heading to the Final Four with a win over Kansas State. They face the 3 seed Michigan next. So, Nick, break it down. What are the Ramblers' chances here?
I would say right now they got same chance they had against the last 3 seed they played in Tennessee. And I mean, I know it took not
the last 3 teams.
The last 3 teams, but certainly like Tennessee and Michigan to me are about the same seed, similar regular seasons. Michigan obviously is one of the hotter teams in the country, coming off what they did in the Big Ten tournament. I understand that, but I mean, I think they got a shot. Like, it wouldn't shock me if they beat Michigan. I think they're the underdog. They should be the underdog. But, I mean, I'd say 35%, a little better than 1 in 3 chance. Like, Loyola's a good team on, I think, a 14-game winning streak that won the 6th best conference in the country this year. Like, they're not a total Cinderella.
At this point, you have to give them a shot. I mean, what they've done, they've earned that right. They've earned that respect from us to give them a chance. Now, against Kansas State, where their advantages were in the skill department. They shot it better. They passed it better. They played together better. They weren't as athletic and strong and big as Kansas State, but in the other areas, I thought they had them beat skill-wise. That won't be the case with Michigan. Michigan shoots it well, very skilled, passes the ball well, smart team. So I would pick Michigan because my daughter goes.
I was going to say, Michigan's also got a lot of Chris Broussard's money.
Yes, they do.
Finally, Kansas punched their ticket to the Final Four with an overtime win over Duke. Freshman Wendell Carter getting called for the foul here and fouling out. Some say it was a turning point moment. 2:49 left in overtime when it happened. Chris, what do you think? Did the refs cost Duke the win with the call there?
No, they didn't cost them the game, but that was a horrible call. There's no question about it. I mean, and look, you still had about 3 minutes left in the game, but you lost Wendell Carter, your second best player, and that's huge. If it had been like his 3rd or 4th foul, wouldn't have been as big of a deal.
Of course.
But it got him out of the game. Now, again, I'm not going to go as far as to say it cost them the game, but it was a terrible call. And in a game that was so close with so much on the line, you hate to see that happen.
Listen, it's a terrible call. He had had a few bad calls go against him. It's one of the reasons he wasn't in the flow of the game, because he was in foul trouble all night. Duke would have liked to play him 35 minutes. They ended up, I think, playing him 22 minutes in that game because of the foul trouble. That is a turning point moment, and it's a terrible call. And as a fan, you hate when there's the block charge call and the ref delays, because it looks like instead of just reacting to what he saw, he's weighing what he wants to do. And you can see on this angle of the replay, I mean, you look at when it happens and then look at the ref jump, and then make the decision. That is aggravating. But the refs didn't cost Duke this game any more than Grayson Allen did. Grayson Allen was terrible. Grayson Allen, he had the shot to win it. People are like, it almost went in. You can't blame him for it. You can blame him for taking that terrible off-balance forced shot. You can blame him for, despite being ice-holed from the field, shooting some huge threes late in the game when they could have gotten a better shot when Wendell Carter was still in the basketball game. Marvin Bagley got 3 field goal attempts the final 15 minutes of this basketball game. He is your advantage. He is your best player, particularly when Wendell Carter goes out. Like, that's on Grayson. And Grayson, after being, as you pointed out earlier, Chris, extraordinary as a sophomore. People might not have liked him. I didn't like his antics. But he was an excellent player as a sophomore. He never got better. And, in fact, he got worse. He went from second-team All-American to never sniffing that level of accomplishment again. And so, like, Grayson was bad for them. And this shot, listen, I bet on Duke to win the game. I had Duke in my bracket. In the moment that shot went up, I was rooting against him making it. Because he has not conducted himself the likes of which a player that deserves, in my eyes, I know it sounds harsh, to hit a buzzer beater to win a game to go to the Final Four.
It does sound harsh, but there's so much to remember about him. Freshman year, that would have been what I'd like to remember about him. When he came in against Wisconsin, scored 16 points. And they have 4 freshmen. They may have had even more, but 4 big-name freshmen, 3 big-name freshmen ahead of him. He was not a big name. Averaged 4 points a game that year. Tyus Jones was a star that game. They had Jaleel Okafor and Justice Winslow. So lottery picks, those two guys.
Listen.
He was the star of that game, but it went downhill.
After and then sophomore year, he was great, and then downhill.
Don't feel too bad for Duke. They have 3 of the best players in the country coming in next year. They're probably going to be right back here. Exactly. All right, new topic. Celtics cannot seem to catch a break with the injuries. The latest news, Kyrie Irving, he will miss 3 to 6 weeks after undergoing surgery to remove a tension wire in his left knee. That would give me tension. The playoffs start in less than 3 weeks with the Celtics all but locked into the 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. Nick, is it possible the Cavaliers actually won the Kyrie trade if we now take a look at everything we know?
We have to be open to the possibility of it now. Like, right when the trade happened, I think most people felt both teams did really well. And then come right before the trade deadline of this season, everyone's like, oh, my God, the Cavs, they ruined their season. So why did they even trade Kyrie? Like, why wouldn't they just held on to him? Isaiah's a disaster. Jay Crowder doesn't want to be there. They're not getting Zizic is some future thing in the Nets. Who knows where that pick's going to be? But then they flip Isaiah and Jay Crowder and allows them, they had to include one of their own picks, but it allows them to get Jordan Clarkson, Larry Nance, and Rodney Hood. So you're like, oh, okay. And now we find out Kyrie might not be available this postseason. And now that Nets pick right now has a 22% chance of being in the top 3. And overwhelmingly likely is going to be at least in the top 7. So now you look at it and you're like, oh, maybe this wasn't such a fleecing by Boston. You also say, what is the long-term health of Kyrie's knee? Are we certain Kyrie, who is a free agent if he wants to be, after next year, that Kyrie is going to stay in Boston, a team that's noteworthy, was not one of the 4 teams he initially said, I want you to trade me to. So if the Celtics had to do it all over again, 100% they make this trade. Yep. I understand that. But now knowing what we know about Kyrie's health going into the postseason, if the Cavs had to do it all over again, they might do it as well. Now, maybe they would prefer to do it with a different team. Maybe they would have preferred to get, more of a superstar haul than what they have now, which is, after the second trade, just role players. But if Kyrie was still in the Celtics, or still in the Cavs, and he were announced today he's going to be out 3 to 6 weeks, maybe the whole postseason, we'd be saying if he's out the whole postseason, the Cavs can't win a title in what could be their last year with LeBron James. That would be disastrous for them.
No, I'm definitely with you. I'm open to whether or not they won this trade. I felt initially they won the trade. Yep. I was wrong on that with Isaiah Thomas. I thought it was great for Boston. But I thought you're getting Isaiah Thomas, who's maybe 80%, 85% of Kyrie Irving. You got Jay Crowder, who's a very good defender and can shoot the 3. I thought it was going to bring back that element of Cleveland game.
And none of that happened, which they could have maybe flipped. We didn't know what they were going to do with it.
Well, the Brooklyn pick, here's the thing, because let's not write off Cleveland as a destination for LeBron next year. He might stay. How good do they do this postseason? Mm-hmm. Maybe they can steal a championship, with Golden State being so injury banged up, with Houston, if they come out, they don't have experience on that level. So maybe they get a championship, or maybe they get close. Maybe it's a tough 6 or 7 game series and they lose in the finals. But then if you get a top pick in a draft that is top heavy, you got some really good players that could be potential stars in this league. Maybe that convinces LeBron James to stay with Cleveland in the East. We'll see how it plays out. I will say this, that pick you said is 6 right now.
Right now it's 6.
With Brooklyn. The year Cleveland got Kyrie Irving and Anthony Bennett, both #1 picks, those picks were like 8th and 9th. So it's rare that the team with the worst record actually gets the #1 pick. So they've got a pretty good chance of getting, like you said, in the top 3.
And they're not going to finish with the worst or the second worst record in basketball, them being Brooklyn. That's Phoenix or Memphis. But Brooklyn could finish with the 3rd worst record in the league. And if you finish the 3rd worst record, the worst you can go in the lottery is to the 6th pick. You can only drop 3 spots in the lottery from where you're at. So it's just, we overreact, and these shows are a huge part of it. I'm a huge part of it instantly. This team won the trade. This team lost the trade. This trade was disastrous. What would have been disastrous would have been an unhappy Kyrie Irving all year in Cleveland, who then needs knee surgery weeks before the postseason in what could be LeBron's last year there.
It could have been worse than that, too, because remember, a report came out that he had told the Cavs he will sit out the entire season. He'll have surgery in the fall, sit out the entire season. So you could have had that, Or you could have had Kyrie playing, but upset, unhappy, malcontent, and that could have messed up the season. So, look, I'm with you, Nick. I'm open to saying the Cavs may have won this trade.
Even if the Celtics would do it 100 times out of 100 because they wanted Kyrie.
All right, one last break, one last segment coming up. Are the New York Giants actually considered